Hey y'all, Chef Sarah here. We are at the Freight House and today we're gonna cook with some goodies we got at the farm. So we have some sweet corn from my husband's family's farm, and then we have some wild blackberries from one of his cattle farms. We're gonna make a chilled sweet corn soup. So let's get going. Take what? So we've got sweet corn here. Remember I told you to always make sure that the corn feels full up to the top. That's something you want to do at the grocery store too, because you don't want to get home and peel it back and it be empty. You want it to be a fully formed piece of corn. So I don't have any tricks for peeling corn. I usually just do one side off. I leave the tassels attached and then I almost like unzip it. It's not gonna matter if there's a few silks in here because we're gonna puree this thing to death. All right, so this is how I like to clean corn. Point side up, I just cut a little bit off the top. Nice sharp knife. So I'm just like following the shape of the corn, going around it. Then I pick it up and I use like this part of my knife. I cut off anything extra. And you really want to get like all of this. That's all super yummy. So corn cob, I usually just break it in half. And then right here, I've got a bunch of corn cobs already simmering in water. This stock takes about 20 minutes, so I went ahead and put it on. So you can see here, corn cobs, waters. There's a ton of flavor still left in this. Like, yeah, it's sweet, it's like candy. So you want to get all that flavor out of there. Now our next step, we've got a little bit of rice bran oil. I've talked about rice bran oil before. I love to use it. Super high smoke point, no flavor at all. About 1 cup of white onion, and then I've got between this and this about 6 cups of corn, fresh sweet corn. Get the good stuff. I'm gonna take this off here. Crank the heat all the way up. Just a touch of oil. That was maybe like a tablespoon or 2, enough to cover the bottom. All right, so you can see my oil, it's kind of giving that ripple effect. We're gonna go ahead and add our onions, and we don't want any color on our onions. We wanna keep them nice and white. Another trick when you're cooking stuff and you don't wanna get any color on it is add salt now. If you've ever put salt on something, it starts to leach liquid out of it. So if we go ahead and put the salt on now, we'll start to pull some of the water out of the onions and it'll keep them from browning. I love the way onions smell when they cook. I think onion might be my favorite vegetable. It's just so versatile and you can make it really sweet or you can make it really savory. And I think everything needs onions. You can see these onions, they're kind of getting floppy and we make sure we don't want to get any color on them. We're going to deglaze with a little bit of wine. Just maybe like a cup of wine. That looks like a good amount. And I always like to leave a little bit extra to top my glass off with. This is Sauvignon Blanc. Don't ever cook with wine if you wouldn't drink it. Now we're going to add our corn in. And you know what, I'm looking at this and I think that's about all we need for that amount of onion. So let's call it like 4 cups of corn to 1 cup of onion to 1 cup of wine. Most of that wine has cooked out by now. Now I'm gonna use this corn stock. So let's add that corn stock in. While that's cooking, I'll just really quick say, one of the things about most soups, most purees here at Freight House is there's not a lot in them. There's water, onion, and the vegetable itself that we're trying to feature. We really want this to taste like corn. We don't need it to taste like a million other things. What we'll do later is we'll use some ingredients inside the bowl to give lots of other flavors to this. Every bite will taste different. Instead of the corn soup being a muddled bowl of soup, it's gonna be really fresh and vibrant. This is why, like, old cooks have such beautiful skin because we're over steam and like popping oil all day. Our skin is so fresh and nice. We've got cooked corn, onions, corn stock. Now you need a high pressure blender. I really like this brand. Vitamix is super high power. It's almost like a car. You can gear it up and throttle it up, make it really work for you. But always have a little water just in case there's not enough. And you should always start with less water and add more because you can't take the water out. All right, so we've got water, all that stuff. We're gonna put a good pinch of salt in there. We're gonna put some cane sugar in there. So this is the evaporated cane juice sugar. It is less refined than white sugar. So it retains some of like the minerals, some of the nutritional value. I mean, I know sugar's not good for you, but it tastes great and this tastes really good. So we're gonna put some sugar in there, then we're gonna turn it on. So what you saw me do is, the term for it, as I struggle to find the term, but the term for it is mount. So we're not just like dumping a bunch of oil in there, we're slowly adding it. What it does, it gives you this really creamy consistency and allows the oil to like emulsify, the same way if you were making an aioli or something. So I'm gonna pour this through a chinois. If you don't have a chinois, you can use a fine mesh strainer. These are just really fine. And then you use that same ladle that you used in there just to push that corn soup through. And that's because we don't want any chunks. We want this totally smooth. So after I push that soup through, I take my ladle, and I don't do this for everything, but for something like a corn soup, I will. I just add that back in. All right. So again, we're just pushing this through. So this kind of like extra, like really fibrous, whatever you want to say, stuff. You don't want that in your soup. You want it to be totally smooth. All right. They're so good. All right, so this is our soup. Always give it a taste before you chill it. And remember that when things are cold, they're going to taste less sweet, less salty, less acidic. Your taste buds are gonna kind of tighten up, and so you're gonna get less of that. So if you taste it now and it's perfectly seasoned, when it's cold, it's probably not gonna be perfectly seasoned. So you're gonna wanna try it again. That's delicious. I think this is good. We're gonna let it cool off. We're gonna get all our mise en place ready to plate the soup up. Okay, so I've got some of the soup that I just poured off the back. I always like to give it a really good shake, and that really makes it kind of have a little bit of froth on top, like extra fluffy. Let's give it one last taste. Remember, always taste your food when it's hot, and then if you're serving it cold, make sure you taste it again. Surprisingly, it doesn't need anything. That's delicious. All right, so I've got all my mise en place out in front of me. While we were waiting for the soup to chill, I went ahead and I took a little bit of this right here. It's very similar to like an absinthe that has that very fennel anise flavor, but I just like it. It's really complex. I took a little bit of heavy cream, a little bit of this, whipped it up. I didn't season it at all, just a little bit of salt, but I did make it like a sweet whipped cream. And so it's a very savory whipped cream. I've got some pickled blueberries right here, some of the fresh corn, some of these wild blackberries. This is the biggest one that we picked, and I was really excited. I saved it for this. Most of them were about like this size, but this was like one mamma jamma. I almost feel like I should just eat it. There's something so different about wild blackberries than farm blackberries. I mean, they're both delicious, but I feel like the wild blackberries, especially if you get them late in season, they're just like this ultra concentrated blackberry flavor. Got a little bit of tarragon here. Again, my favorite flavor, that fennel anise tarragon flavor. A little shishito peppers. I've just kind of given them a thin little slice. 1 in 10 shishito peppers is spicy, so make sure you taste if you've got a spicy one or not. And then just a little bit of poached shrimp. Just poach that in a court bouillon. You can just grill them or sear them, whatever you want, but I like to serve them chilled. I'm gonna do like bite size. So the way we serve soup at Freight House, it's done so that 1, I like to eat soup this way, but 2, we are really aware of people who have maybe any dietary restrictions or food allergies. So this is vegan. The majority of everything is vegan. We can very easily make it vegan just by taking the shrimp out of the bowl. There's no shellfish. Just by taking the cream and the shrimp out, now you're just vegetables. It's vegan. So I like to serve things like that. A little bit of our just raw corn. We'll put that down in the bottom. Let's do some of our shrimp in there. And another thing I like about this, I don't love everything to be like perfectly placed. I want it to just kind of look like it fell and just ended up being that beautiful. Let's go next with some shishito peppers. So we've got some sliced shishito peppers in there. Next, let's do some of these pickled blueberries. This is going to give a really nice acid component to it. These have been pickled in red wine vinegar, water, and sugar. And that helps us preserve the fruit so that we can use it all year long. Some of these blackberries, I like to cut them in half so that I can see. Look how beautiful those little blackberries are inside. They're so white. They have that black around them. I just love the way they look. So put a few blackberries in there. A little bit of tarragon. And I'm using little pieces of tarragon just because I don't want I don't want to put a million pieces of tarragon in there and then everything tastes like tarragon. Just want a few little bites to taste like that. And then I've got my cream here. Make a nice little quenelle. Maybe one more little piece of tarragon, maybe 1 little blackberry in there. So there's our soup. And then again, we're gonna give this one good nice shake so it's really fluffy and light. So we do everything tableside here, or we do a lot of stuff tableside. You know, the cooks have put so much time into all of this really knife work. We have all these beautiful vegetables and shrimp. We have all of these amazing ingredients. And if we pour this soup back in the kitchen and bring it out to you, you don't get to see all of that hard work. And you don't really get to see and understand what you're eating. So when we bring it to you at the Freight House, we're gonna set it down in front of you just like this. We're gonna mark you with a nice clean spoon. And then we're gonna pour it tableside. Y'all enjoy. That's it. Y'all come on down and see us. Try some cold soup. It'll warm your soul. I don't know. Try some cold soup. It'll take your swamp ass away. Come down to Freight House. Try some cold soup. Made for people with icy hearts. Cold soup. Your friends don't believe you, but it's really good.